I was just barely 18 years old when I became pregnant with my son. My first thought was, am I mentally or financially stable to have a baby and provide for a baby? After weighing out the pros and cons of being a single teen mother, my mind was still not made up. I was presented with many options throughout my entire pregnancy and I was still confused. I didn't choose adoption until probably like 3 days before my son was even born. I came to the realization that I, in fact, was not mentally or financially ready to be a mother. I was single, I had no job at the time, I had no money saved up, I couldn't do it at the time. I still had no clue on how to even take care of a baby since I still considered myself a child. This is when I decided on adoption. At the time, being barely 18 years old, adoption was my only option. A lot of people misinterpret adoption, and for a while, I felt like I was looked down upon. Adoption is a life-altering situation for young and older mothers that don't feel like they can provide everything they need for their baby. When you have a child, yes, a lot of people say all you need is love, but that is not true. You need love, you need stability. I didn't have either of those. And you know what? Giving your child up for adoption can cause depression, can cause a lot of hurt within yourself, but just know that the feelings that you're feeling are only temporary. They go away with time. It's not easy, but it does happen. Mothers of all ages that can't provide for their infant, I think, should strongly consider adoption. Adoption is nothing you should be ashamed of. I was ashamed of it at first, but almost 8 years later, I've grown to accept it. Instead of feeling ashamed, you should feel grateful that you have the option to choose another family for your baby. Some women fear that they will never know how their child is doing. However, adoption carries multiple options to where you can still be a part of your child's life from afar. These options include open adoptions and closed adoptions. This choice is solely up to the birth mother or birth father. Let's focus in on the choice I made, which was an open adoption. When choosing an open adoption, you in some way get to stay in contact with the adoptive family, whether it is direct contact with the family or contact with your adoption agency. My contact with my son's adoptive family is considered a mediated open adoption. I get to receive pictures, letters, and even schoolwork that my son has done, and I can get this stuff anytime. I can call up my caseworker and let her know that I'm thinking about my son. I want to see pictures of him. I want to read some letters and see how he was doing, and it's just a phone call or an email away, and I can do this whenever I want, as many times as I want throughout the entire year. In a traditional open adoption, you give your child's adoptive family your name, your address. You can even give them pictures of yourself so they can show your child, you know, this is what your birth parent looks like. And that's if the adoptive family wants to let them know that they are adopted. And letters that I receive can go both ways. When my son's family writes me, I always write them back. You get the opportunity to form some sort of relationship with your child's adoptive family, which I believe is the best gift when choosing your adoption to be open. One thing that I have seen that is misinterpreted about open adoptions is that the birth mother feels like they still should have some say in what decisions are made after the adoption has taken place. According to USA Today, adoptive families, this is really important, adoptive families need to make sure that they live up to their commitments and not go back on the initial agreement. And that means the adoptive family can't call you one day and say, hey, I can't take care of your kid anymore, do you want them back? That's not how it works. When you sign that piece of paper for an adoption, it is permanent. Birth mothers, birth parents, need to remember that their open adoption is not co-parenting. This is something that I was confused about at first, but then in time, I realized that it's simply not co-parenting. After an adoption has taken place, the birth parent's role is to simply bless the new home and opportunities that has been given to their child. Now, I am not necessarily persuading every mother to place her child up for adoption. I am simply letting every mother know that there are different options when it comes to your child. If you get pregnant, and it doesn't matter if it's in the beginning of your pregnancy, the middle of your pregnancy, or the end of your pregnancy, you always have that option to choose a better life for your child. Adoption is the best gift you can give a family that cannot have children. And adoption also is a gift for you, knowing that your child can be raised and taken care of just the way that you want them to be, without physically doing it. There are many resources for women to choose from when considering adoption, and these resources don't stop after you have your baby. These resources can be used in the beginning of your pregnancy, the middle, and even after your child is placed for adoption. My son is almost 8 years old, and I don't think I could have made a better decision for him. I am so grateful for my adoptive family. I have a really good relationship with them. I hope nothing changes with them, like I said. In an open adoption, there sometimes is a time frame to when you can still receive pictures or when pictures stop coming. Thankfully, my pictures still come to me whenever I want them. Now, in a closed adoption is when you don't receive pictures, you don't receive updates, you don't receive anything about your child. You may not even get the chance to choose who your child's family is. Now, in the United States, between 14 and 18,000 adoptions take place each year. 95% of those adoptions are in somewhat way open now. That small 5% are closed adoptions. I am for an open adoption. I could never go knowing how my son is doing. I can never go even knowing how his family is doing. I love his family. I want to make sure that they're still as stable as they are. The mom is a stay-at-home mom. She is with him all the time. Now, every woman considering this needs to pick out the pros and the cons of adoption, and I guarantee you that the pros will outweigh the cons. Thank you. Have a wonderful day.